Today, our topic is the problem of evil. Can it ever be solved? This question has troubled philosophers, theologians, and ordinary people for centuries. Why does evil exist in the world? If there is a good and powerful God, why does suffering happen? These are not easy questions, and there are no simple answers. But let us try to understand this problem and see if we can find some meaning or wisdom in it. First, let us define what we mean by evil. Evil can be divided into two types: moral evil and natural evil. Moral evil is the suffering caused by human actions, like violence, cruelty, or injustice. Natural evil is the suffering caused by nature, like earthquakes, diseases, or floods. Both types of evil raise difficult questions about the nature of life and the existence of God. One of the oldest explanations for evil comes from religion. Many religions teach that evil exists because of human free will. God gave humans the freedom to choose between good and evil, and sometimes people choose evil. This is called the free will defense. According to this view, evil is not God's fault, but the result of human choices. Without free will, humans would be like robots, unable to truly love or do good. But with free will comes the risk of evil. This explanation makes sense, but it does not fully solve the problem. Why does God allow so much suffering? Why do innocent people suffer because of the evil actions of others? These questions remain. Another explanation is that suffering has a purpose. Some people believe that suffering helps us grow and become stronger. Without challenges, we would not learn courage, patience, or compassion. This idea is found in many philosophies, including Stoicism. The Stoics believe that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Suffering is not evil if we face it with strength and wisdom. This perspective can be comforting, but it is also hard to accept when we see extreme suffering, like the pain of a child or the destruction of a natural disaster. Atheists and skeptics have a different view. They argue that the existence of evil is proof that there is no God, or at least not a good and all-powerful God. If God existed and cared about us, He would not allow such suffering. This is a strong argument, but it also raises questions. If there is no God, where does our sense of good and evil come from? Why do we feel that suffering is wrong if the universe is just a random and meaningless place? These questions show that the problem of evil is not just about religion, but about the nature of life itself. Some philosophers suggest that evil is a necessary part of a greater good. This is called the greater good defense. According to this idea, certain goods can only exist if there is also evil. For example, bravery cannot exist without danger, and forgiveness cannot exist without wrongdoing. This explanation is complex and not always satisfying, especially when we think about extreme cases of suffering. But it reminds us that life is full of contrasts, and sometimes good and evil are deeply connected. In modern times, science has also tried to explain suffering. Evolutionary theory tells us that pain and suffering are part of nature's way of ensuring survival. Pain warns us of danger, and competition drives evolution. This explanation is useful, but it does not address the moral questions about evil. Why do we feel that suffering is wrong if it is just a natural process? Science can explain how suffering happens, but it cannot tell us how to deal with it or find meaning in it. So, can the problem of evil ever be solved? The truth is, there is no final answer. Evil and suffering are part of the human condition, and we may never fully understand why they exist. But this does not mean we should give up or lose hope. Instead, we can focus on what we can do to reduce suffering and make the world a better place. We can choose to act with kindness, courage, and compassion, even in the face of evil. This is not a solution to the problem, but it is a way to live with it. Stoicism offers some practical advice for dealing with suffering. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot control. We cannot stop all evil in the world, but we can control our own actions and attitudes. By practicing self-discipline, gratitude, and empathy, we can find peace even in difficult times. This does not mean we should ignore suffering or be indifferent to it. On the contrary, we should do what we can to help others and fight against injustice. But we should also accept that some things are beyond our power, and we must find a way to live with them. Another important idea is that suffering can give our lives meaning. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist who survived the Holocaust, wrote about this in his book Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl observed that even in the worst conditions, people could find meaning in their suffering. This meaning did not come from the suffering itself, but from how they responded to it. By choosing to face suffering with dignity and purpose, they found a deeper sense of meaning in their lives. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. When we face suffering, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? How can I help others? These questions can guide us through difficult times and help us find strength and hope. Finally, let us remember that we are not alone in facing the problem of evil. Throughout history, people have struggled with the same questions and found ways to cope. By learning from their wisdom and supporting each other, we can find the courage to face life's challenges. The problem of evil may never be fully solved, but we can still live meaningful and compassionate lives. We can choose to focus on the good, even in the presence of evil. We can choose to love, to hope, and to create a better world. This is not an easy path, but it is a worthy one. In conclusion, the problem of evil is one of the deepest and most difficult questions we face. It challenges our beliefs, our values, and our understanding of life. While there is no final answer, we can find ways to live with this problem and even grow from it. By focusing on what we can control, by finding meaning in our suffering, and by supporting each other, we can face the challenges of life with courage and hope. The problem of evil may never be solved, but we can still choose to live with wisdom, compassion, and purpose. Let us remember that even in the darkest times there is always a light, and that light is within us.